Welcome to the Amy Edwards Show. I'm your host, Amy Edwards, and I am so stoked that you're here. I'm so excited. I just have a lot to say. My mind just feels like it's exploding because I'm so excited about today's interview with Suzy Batiz, which we are about to get to. Up top, please like, rate, review, subscribe if you like the show. I am so happy to connect further with you. You can leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That helps us build the show. You can connect with me via my newsletter, which is at amyedwards.com. You can sign up there. It comes twice a week. On Mondays, it's 3 things I've learned. And on Thursdays, I let you know about the interview that we're doing because we have 2 shows a week now. One is a solo cast on Mondays and one is an interview on Thursdays. And so I hope to connect with you there. And if you ever have any thoughts too about the newsletter, you can simply reply to that email and I will see it. So I am excited to keep connecting with everyone from this show. It feels so good. And I'm just so grateful to be sitting here right now to have hot pie and to connect with you. So today's interview is going to just make you feel so good. I love this woman, Suzy Batiz. Suzy is the creator and CEO of Poo-Pourri, right? So you already know that. She also made these game-changing, eco-friendly, non-toxic household cleaning products named Supernatural. And we talk about some of that today, but we also really talk about the fact that she is a self-taught, energetic explorer. She is a spiritual and wellness guru. She's a personal development coach. And so, of course, that's super up my alley. And she has created a course to help people up-level their lives by tapping into their intuition. And it's called Alive OS, Alive Operating System. And you have to go look at her website. So she's everywhere just under her name, Suzy, S-U-Z-Y, Batiz, BATIZ.com, or you can find her on Instagram. You can connect through there, throw her a follow and check out her website. Her website is so awesome. I love the way it functions. And it's one of the more beautiful websites that I've seen. And it's a plus. So not that I'm grading websites, but still. And her course is all about getting in touch with our intuition and staying in touch with it. And this has come through her own personal journey, which has been massive because she's achieved massive success through Poo-Pourri and through Supernatural. And she's been featured in, basically you name it, name a publication or TV or whatever it is. She was named Forbes' richest self-made woman, one of Forbes's richest self-made women in America in 2019. How badass is that? Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year in 2017. She's been a world-changing woman from Conscious Company in 2019. EarthX's Community Leader of the Year in 2019. I mean, damn, that is an incredible list. And she's 57 years old and not stopping. And we're going to get right into that about how she hasn't even peaked yet, which, hell yeah. We don't want to live like we've already reached our peak. No, the best is yet to come. Absolutely. That's the journey that we're on. We are transforming life to keep getting better and better every day in every way. You are getting better and better. I am getting better and better. And she has some badass mantras in here too, which I'm so excited for you to hear. So, okay, I'll let the interview speak for itself now. Let's get to it. Suzy, are you feeling alive as shit today?
I'm feeling alive as shit, man.
Me too.
Excited.
Honestly, when we met very briefly, I think in November, you have an alive as shit energy about you. And I was just like, who is that? And I really just was drawn to you. You're magnetic. And I'm so excited to get to hear from you today and just continue to amplify, at least do my part to amplify your voice in the world.
Oh, thank you. I think the feeling's mutual. I think we were both like, whoop, okay.
We were.
Yeah, we were like, hold on. Who are you? We need to figure this out. It was fun.
I went through your whole website and I was like, yep. I was just like, even your pictures, I'm like, I love the colors. I love what she's wearing. I love her hair. I was like, oh my gosh, like I resonate with all you got going on and your self-starter nature, which is so incredible. And I know that just speaks to a lot of people and fuels everything that you're doing. And so this show is about transformation. And I know that you've just transformed and transformed. And it's so cool to see you even transforming now, because you told me that when we met. You said, well, I'm moving into this more of a coaching and development space. And it just sounds like such a cool, natural flow. And I guess maybe my first question is, as you moved into this space, did you have any reservations about it? Did you have anything holding you back that you felt like you had to kind of get over?
Well, the interesting thing about this space is the program that I teach, Alive OS, I wrote 16 years ago.
Wow.
It was called Inside Out, How to Create a Life You Desire by Going Within. I still have the original binder. It's amazing. But I didn't have faith in myself. I just filed bankruptcy. So I wasn't successful in the world, or what people, consider successful. I had 5 women take the course with me that I was writing, and nobody finished it. And I remember going, oh, I haven't actually created success, what people know. So then within 6 months, I had the idea for Poo-Pourri, and I've been on this road for 15 years. And a couple of years ago, one of my coaches gave me a quote, which is an amazing quote. Everyone should write this down. It's from Joseph Campbell, and it's, "The cave you fear holds the treasure you seek." And this coach asked me, what is that thing that you're so terrified of that you can't even speak, right? Because you're so afraid you can't even speak it. And through my snot cries, I said that I'm a global spiritual leader. Like, it just felt so far away, like literally like I'm talking about I'm a different ethnicity. That's how far away from it when I spoke it. It was probably 3 years ago. And he said, okay, great. What are you going to do with it? And I looked down and I saw this binder, and I said, I wrote this course 16 years ago. I can rewrite it. So the next week I asked 25 women, if I rewrote this course, would you, be here with me? And they did. And that was the first Alive OS in my house. And then I still didn't do anything with it. But then during the pandemic, all those 25 women were like, people are suffering. You need to put this out in the world. And then I started teaching it online. So that was that evolution. So I did have hesitation 16 years ago. I thought I wasn't aligned internally with what I actually knew. So I needed to go through this life process to prove to myself that I was worthy to teach what I actually knew 16 years ago. Does that make sense?
It makes more sense to me than you know, because I wrote a 30-day course probably 7 or 8 years ago, like to self-publish as a book. And I've been sitting on it, and I don't even know why I didn't put it out, why I didn't publish it, and why I didn't do it. I don't know. I guess I felt like I had something else to do. I don't even know. And it's just that tapping into, and wow, I think your story is so cool, because people think this is an overnight success, and there's no such thing. I mean, it took you 16 years. When I have published a book, and people were like, "Oh, I want to write a book," and I'm like, "I won't tell you how long it took then, because it was like 12 years." So
that's it. I've been writing a book for about 7 years now. I have 5 more. So what you're telling me is I have 5 more years.
maybe, but that's okay.
Good to know.
I mean, and I've said to people, I'm like, oh, if someone had told me it was going to take this long, would I have done it in the first place? If someone had told you that about that course, would you have done it in the first place? No, it's a good thing we don't know, right?
I would have said 15 years. What? I can't wait on anything 15 years. I would have no way. Actually, I just got an astrology reading, and she kind of told me that I'm at my peak and I'm going to go up another mountain for the next 15 years. And I was like, what? I thought I was here, She goes, no, you're starting over. You don't reach your peak until you're 72. I was like,
I just got chills. I just got total chills. And how old are you? So
57.
Yeah, right. You're 57. God, you look, you're so inspiring to me. Yes. And isn't that great to hear though? 15 years then? I know. That's, if you're wishing to be alive as shit, that's alive as shit.
It's alive as shit. Yeah. And then she said it was going to be my legacy work. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm into that. It's like, okay, you know what? And then I really went back to, what do I want to leave in the world? It's like, okay, yeah, I've done a lot. I've transformed a lot. I've done a lot for myself and my family. And now it's like, now what do you want to do? What do you want to leave for the entire world? That's a whole other situation.
And what do you want to? Well, go ahead and voice it. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So always since I was a little girl, my dream, every birthday I had, I would wish that everyone knew they could create any life that they wanted. Now, it took me a lot of years to live up to that, right? So what I would love to leave is every single person knowing that that's at least possible if they so choose, right? Because what happened is when I was younger, I didn't quite believe it or understand it. I was a victim of life, right? And I'm sure you've been in those situations and you're so victim and you're getting tumbled, you're in the washing machine of life or something even more violent, the hurricane, you are just getting tumbled and it's hard for you to know, like, hold on, I can actually start taking some control and making choices to start getting myself out of that hurricane. And I never knew that until I was 38 years old at my second bankruptcy, when I had what I consider everything taken away, all the money, the house, the cars. I had my family and my health, which is really everything, which is how screwed up my thinking was. I'm like, oh, I've lost everything. It's like, no, I really didn't. I lost what people consider, financial security, but I had things that were so much more valuable. But after that, I started realizing, like, hold on, now I can start choosing what I want in my life. So I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I often say that if we don't transform life, God, whatever, the universe, whatever we want to say here, kind of gives us a big either tap on the shoulder, thump on the head, or complete knees thrown out from underneath us. Something's going to go down, okay? Where you have to wake up, And so I got to wake up to that part of myself that had been such a victim. So it's a long way of answering. I want everyone to know what I found out. It's like you can change your life. You can radically change your life at any second. Every moment's a choice.
I know it really is. And I think I was one of these people that has had to be punched a few times rather than just listening to it and being like, okay, I'll do it. And so I think there's like finding that balance of maybe understanding your hits, rather than not going through them. It's maybe a way of looking back and saying like, oh, that makes sense now. I had to learn that, And I guess the question would be something about your course. Like, do you help people just make sense of those things, the bankruptcies and the hard stuff, or is it more like optional?
Well, we do have so it's designed in 8 weeks. And what happens is I've been on this personal development journey for 18 years. And
since that bankruptcy, or it was after that, huh?
It was after the bankruptcy.
What happened?
I've done more personal work than 99% of people. I'll just tell you, I've done over 156 plant medicine journeys. I've done somatic therapy for EMDR. Somatic therapy every single week. I've done tons of workshops, courses, EMDR, hypnosis, like every kind of healing you can imagine, frequency healing, sound healing. Like I have been on a serious track for 18 years. What I did in the course is took the things that I felt changed my life the most, and I put those in. One of those is actually harvesting. I call it. We have a week of harvesting right at the beginning. It's like, let's go back to those worst things that we considered happened to us. Now let's harvest all the good that came out of them. Because when we live in duality, Amy, there has to be equal good and bad. That's just the fact of, people are like, oh, the world's going to hell. It's like, and there's a lot of good. There has to be. We happen to live in duality. Of course, you can have a non-dual perspective, but they go together. But basically, there has to be good in every bad, and there's bad in every good. For example, people think, oh, I want to be super wealthy. It's great, and it comes with a lot of responsibility, a lot of work, and a lot of burden. You know what I'm saying? It's always balanced. So what I find in the course is I have people go back and let's harvest the good out of it. Then when they can start seeing that good, they kind of go, maybe that didn't happen to me. Maybe that actually happened for me. And then if that happens, how can I look at the things that are going to happen in the future? If I know everything's balanced. So that's one of the things we do. And naturally, your mind starts shifting to looking at things as not good or bad. They just are. And then you can harvest from them what you want.
I'm glad you brought that up because I've been kind of resistant to lately in the last, I'd say, year or so to even label things good or bad, because we just don't even, you just don't know quite. And they just are. I love the way that you phrase that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
It's something, it's an experience. What do you want to take from that experience? And this isn't Pollyanna. It's fully facing and it's fully saying, wow, if you're in a big pile of shit, going, I'm in a big pile of shit right now. Okay.
Yeah.
But why am I here? What do I do to create it? What's the spiritual meaning of this? And what's the psychological thing that actually got me here? What must I believe about myself to have gotten myself in this situation? When you start working on all those areas, then you start really seeing the totality of that situation differently. You kind of have a higher perspective rather than being in it and being so victim.
Oh, big time. Well, so speaking of higher perspective, what's your perception of God or higher power?
I don't know. I was raised very conservative Christian, Church of Christ in Arkansas. You
were going to go.
Yeah, you were
That's all the way.
It's all the way. If you were going to go, you're just going to hell. If you danced or wore shorts or played music or anything, you're just basically going to hell. And so I turned my back on religion very early on, like, F you, none of this stuff works. I have since come back to a level of what I consider spirituality. For me, I've studied a lot of science and a lot of different religions. I can't make sense that there isn't something that is some divine presence that's organizing all of this. I've looked at chaos theory and I've looked at some of these things. I'm like, yeah, and there has to be something organizing. I don't know what that is. But what I can do within that, where I can have faith, is that something is organizing the sun to come up, the sun to go down, the trees to give us oxygen. That when I look at how this whole system works, I start thinking all that went on without any of my input, right? So there must be this something that is benevolent, that is keeping all of this going. And I also must be able to benefit from that benevolence.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess so. You can't do that many plant medicine journeys and not, at least I don't think so. You come into that space for sure. What was like one of the most moving for you? Or when was your last plant medicine journey? Do you still do that?
No, I think I did my last journey on New Year's Eve. Yeah. I felt like it was my last. All my friends were like, yeah, sure. And I was like, no, I really feel like it's my last. I feel like this chapter's done for me.
Why?
I heard a message last year. I do a lot of meditation.
Me too.
And I heard a message last year before the last time I taught a live. So it must have been in September. And I heard, it's time for you to serve. And I was like, okay. And then I heard, and this was no plant medicine. And then I heard, you've accessed God through substances. Now it's time for you to go direct. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's just what I heard. I still did another journey on New Year's Eve. And that's why I told my friends, I said, listen, I heard this. So now I'm going to start exploring this direct connection that I have and not using plant medicines as a way to connect. Let me connect in other ways.
Because isn't that the goal? I'm glad we're talking about this because I've been thinking about this exact thing because my partner's sober now. And so I can still do what I want if I want to do. He's sober, like without plant medicines or anything. And so I still could, but I've almost felt like they're a tool. So how much do I need that tool? How much do I need to lean on that? Isn't it just to show me my own power?
Completely.
Yeah.
and to show you there is a benevolent force and that you're connected and we're all connected and we're all one. And, you know, that once you see all that, you know, how many more times do you need to see it? It's like watching the same movie and rewind, really.
But we feel like we need it for some reason. And I think that it gets into our brain like that's the only way we can do it. And so it's been pushing me the last however long. I can't remember when my last plant medicine journey was, but it was, you know, last year sometime. And so, oh no, I mean, I've been doing some ketamine journeys I did in the fall. So, which I count those. And so, yeah, I feel like I've been just pushing myself to lean out of that and into myself as the tool. And that's been an interesting journey in itself to be like, I think there's a worthiness thing in there, even for me, that's like, I don't need anything outside myself. Like I'm enough. I am able to do this because we all are. We're able to access it.
Completely. Yeah. No one's special. That has to be. It's where we came from. It's our source.
And that's not to say there's not a lot of shit that you got to clear out.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm very grateful. I do believe that a lot of those plant medicine journeys did enable me to get to the place where now I go, I don't really need that anymore. You know, and I can also see it's really interesting. You talk about your partner being sober. I can also see kind of the addiction I had to the adrenaline of it.
Oh, 100%. It's called like journey hopping.
The drama, you know, afterwards, everybody's sharing their journey and what happened. And, you know, it's like, okay, after a while, it just gets kind of, and I did this, in all fairness, those journeys over 15 years. So it wasn't like, but I did do 50 something journeys in 2020, which was, it took me all of 2021 until now to really integrate all that.
I mean, that's like one a week almost. That is a lot.
I thought I was going to, I quit being CEO and I thought I was going to be a shaman again. I've gone through this path a couple of times and I'm like, okay, that's it. Let's go. And then I was like, no, I got to serve more than 25 people at a time. Like, this isn't going to work.
I need to go to the masses. Like, everybody needs to know this. So a shaman for what exactly? Like mushroom ceremonies or?
Ayahuasca.
Oh, cool.
And that's been the medicine I've journeyed with the most.
Wow.
So if I had a preference, that was really my particular medicine. But then it was really funny in probably December of 2020, my son and I were in a journey together. And after ceremony, I looked at him, I go, we don't need any of this. And he goes, we don't? And I go, no. He goes, what are we doing here? I go, exactly. That's the question. Because we don't really need this. And what are we doing? We're having fun on the weekends, partying with a bunch of people. You know, it's like at a certain point. So that was a realization. And I'm not, saying anyone else has had that experience. That was just my experience. It's kind of like, it's fun. All my friends, we're all traveling together. We're doing medicine. Did we grow? Absolutely. Yeah. But I do believe that, as you become higher, I don't like these higher lowers, but as you change your vibrational frequency, and I believe the medicines do that, help us remove a lot. I just don't think you need that carrier anymore. And
there's a lot of growth to be found in the not using of it, in the asking the question, why really am I doing that? Is this something I could sit and meditate and clear out, myself? And that's been big for me because I think I had done some ketamine in 2020 that was like a series. And I noticed that I was like relying on the nose spray. I was relying on it when I meditated, things like that. And I was like, what? And I still have moments where I'm like, I want that. And I'm like, why? I have a little conversation going in my head. Like, why do you want that? I'm like, okay, there's room to explore there why I feel like I need something outside myself. So it's just, anyway, I guess my point is there's just so much growth to be had. Like, just as you.
Completely. And I think that, and don't you also feel it's almost a forced connection? So it's kind of like you don't have to try too much. You're just sort of there. You're transported there versus me having to consciously go, okay, let me sit and breathe and still my mind and connect. Right. It's a little more, it's a lot more work.
Oh my God.
In a way.
Breath work ceremonies, they make me like, those push me. Because you don't have that just like, okay, it's done for me. It's like, oh, wait, I have to breathe and figure this out and do it. And I don't know what I'm doing. And it brings all this shit up and I'm not worthy and whatever else, I'm not doing it right.
Isn't it amazing through just breath?
Just breath. Well, it activates.
Needed.
No, it activates your own DMT in your brain, right? So pretty amazing. Well, that is very interesting. I'm really glad we got to discuss that because it's just been, I had a guest on maybe about a year ago and Aileen Hanley, and she was talking about, I lit some Palo Santo when she got here, whatever. And she was like, I was like, do you do that kind of stuff? And she was like, no, I am the tool. I was like, oh. And I was like, huh, yeah, right on. Like get open enough to I am the tool.
That's it. Yeah.
I
don't need a tool. I am a tool. Yeah. And we're always connected, And then I remember being 4 years old and just having this energy run through my body, actually it's probably a Kundalini energy.
Whoa.
And I remember being so stimulated. Yeah, I actually wrote about this a couple of weeks ago in my writing. I'm writing a book, and I looked over at my dad for help, and he looked at me like, I can't help you. I've been dealing with this my whole life. And it was this feeling of me being lost, like just not knowing what that was. I believe we all have that connection. I just happen to be aware of it. So what I've been looking at is, hold on, if that happened at 4, I should be able to have that naturally. I should be able to have that same connection now, So we always learn in personal development where get back to the 4-year-old, get back to that younger part of yourself. So that's what I've been looking at, and not just looking at, but more embodying her,
What was that? What, I mean, like, what initiated that? What provoked that to happen? You don't know?
I just remember feeling it and just being terrified, like something's happening in my body. I have no idea what it is. It was just like energy just rushing through my being. And I didn't understand it for so many years. I thought I was possessed or something. I grew up in church. It's like something happened to me. I don't know what it was. Now, what I really believe that it was just Kundalini energy. It was just that connection to source, which can, once you connect, can just be, your entire, you feel it through your entire being, But imagine feeling as a 4-year-old, it can become extremely overwhelming and foreign. Like, I don't know what's going on here.
Absolutely.
So I can see where I pushed all that down, right? And it's kind of like, okay, I don't want that to happen again because that wasn't fun. When really it is what I want now. And why I do breath work and meditation to get back to that place,
And do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Every day?
Yeah. Meditation, yes.
Or I don't manage to get back to that Kundalini space.
Oh, I don't know if every day. I've definitely started doing it. Let's think, probably like in January of 2020, I started doing it sexually, like realizing that I don't even have to touch anyone. Like I can have an orgasm, like I can have that Kundalini energy without even physical touch.
Mm-hmm.
So I started accessing through that, and then just realizing that must be operating in my body all the time. And for me, it's I've looked at a lot, like, do I need to access it through breath work? Do I need a tool to get there? Or can I just have an awareness that this aliveness is running through me all the time?
Ooh, that's good. How did you get in touch with that sexual thing? Like, did you have a practice that you did, or what was it?
It just happened. It was with a person I was dating. And what I realized is I could just like, whoa, I'm like, oh my God. And I thought it was him. I was like, oh, you can, I can.
I'm so turned on by you, just whatever, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I thought this connection is like wild, and I really thought it was specific to him until it happened with another person and another person. I was like, hey, hold on, I'm the common denominator here, right?
Yeah.
So this must be this energy. And I've been, there's a class called Erotic Blueprint. I don't know if you've taken it. Yeah. So I took Jaya's class and I started realizing that I'm an energetic. So I can feel that energy. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just started practicing and playing with it and letting it come to the surface, versus needing another person to do that. So I can do that on my own now, with just focus and awareness.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah.
It's awesome.
I've been sharing a lot on this show about, that exact thing and just getting more in touch with how we feel. And I know for me, there's been a big component of, I think the meditation helps because you're more able to get just into the moment and really present with how your body feels. And mine also, I did some work around it. I don't know if you'd call it work, but around it during the pandemic. And it was just tuning into the sensations in my body was a huge part of that, rather than fantasizing about something in particular.
Yes. And let's back up, where I believe plant medicines have helped, or, I don't believe you have to do plant medicines. You can do a combination of anything. It could be EMDR, hypnosis, somatic therapy. But I remember 18 years ago, I had a somatic therapist, and she said, "Where do you feel that in your body?" And my answer was, "What body?" And she goes, "Well, do you feel anything in your body?" And I'm like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." I was only operating from my neck up. Whoa. Because when you deal with a lot of trauma, you train yourself to not feel, right?
Yeah.
So my path, when I talk about healing, is really opening myself up to feeling. So think about that 4-year-old that could feel so much. And then you're in abusive situation after abusive situation. It's just like, don't feel, don't feel, don't feel, don't feel. So I've been on a path the past 18 years of, can I feel? Can I open up? Is it safe to feel? Can I feel more? Can I feel more now? Can I feel, So I've been that person that couldn't feel. Like, I just couldn't. I didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah, you're just like, numb, right? You're just like
completely numb. Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking to me to think, well, I mean, I've done it for so many years, and so many people do. And I know that that's part of your message, isn't it? Like, if you're going to really feel alive, then you're going to feel your body, because we've got this thing, whether we want to deny it or not.
Yeah. And it's sad and it's good. Again, the good part of not feeling is you were protective. It worked. That's what, like I could cry right there just going, thank you. Like, it worked. That was how I felt safe in the world. That's how, like, I'm teary. Like, I'm about to cry right now. It's like, thank you for me not feeling, because that's the only way I could move forward in this world. Once I started understanding a different way, I can still consider that just like such a gracious gift. It's like, thank you for keeping me safe. Thank you for keeping me protected. Right. So then I could slowly open to who I am now. It's like, thank you.
Yeah. And what a shift. Like, that's like getting to that reframe that you were describing earlier, where you shift the way you're seeing it, and you're able to look back at that, thank your body for something that you could have labeled as bad and been like, oh my God, and judged yourself and been like, oh my God, I can't believe I spent so many years numb, and been mad at yourself. And then you have to spend time dealing with that. But instead, you're able to shift it on around. I know that took work for you probably, but I'm guessing it probably took, some time to get there. But what a beautiful thing to be able to view it as a gift.
Yeah. And that's it. I even, I am for Western medicine when you have to have it, but I was on Prozac for 7 years between 30 and 37, or actually Zoloft. But
oh, wow.
I look back at that, and I would never condone that now or tell somebody this is what you should do. But what I realized when I looked back, because I had to go through not being available for my children, not being available for my family, being numbed out. So I did a lot of healing work, or, understanding around that. And then I just had such a gratitude for those medicines. They kept me alive. Like, seriously, like, wow. You couldn't be more depressed than I was. And I'd already tried to kill myself when I was 21. So I do believe they kept me alive. So then I'm about to cry. Like, I got on my knees and was like, thank you. You kept me here, right? I don't need it anymore, but thank you, man. I somehow stayed. I stayed.
You stayed, and you're not even at your peak yet. Not even
exactly.
Not even close.
I'm still here. Thank you. Whatever it took to get me here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All of it.
How good are you at like really staying in the present moment? Like, how's that for you? How's that process?
I would say I'm getting back there. I used to be really, so I'll tell you a little bit. I believe I had some surgery done in 2020 and then did 10 ketamine journeys. And I lost my meditation for a year and a half. I just got my meditation back a couple of months ago. I believe that the anesthesia from the surgery and the ketamine together, just something happened in my psyche where my mind was just so wild. And I did another, 25 to 30 other journeys after that. And it really created a lot of static and disturbance. So I'm just now getting back to having that presence that I used to have.
What did that look like for you when you didn't have it? Like, you mean just you would sit down to do it, or would you even sit down to do it?
Both.
Yeah.
I had done transcendental meditation for 16 years prior to that, faithfully. Faithfully every morning. I was probably about 40% in the evenings, but I was a 99% score in the morning. And I could always drop into that place of void. You know what I'm saying? It was just,
wow. It
was amazing. It was the place I went, and then I couldn't do it anymore. So I felt very lost. It was hard for me to accept. I was chasing that quiet place. And then probably the reason it all settled back is I started just accepting, like, this is where I'm at. This is where my mind's at. Can I just sit with this? Can I just sit with my mind ping pong ball going crazy over here, And then, of course, the present started coming back in. Instead of trying to chase it and calm it,
Mm-hmm. Calm down. That's the paradox. Like, the older I get, the more I'm like, everything is a paradox. So what do I want to do? Well, I guess I'll do it for myself. Or what do I want to, just, I don't know. Everything's a giant paradox to me. So I'm like, I better just relax and flow with it. And
I also think, don't you think also, like, I know I can tend to be that high achiever. I wouldn't be where I'm at, in the world without, having that in my nature. So it's also like, just really also watching myself want to get to a place. That's a lack of presence, right? I want to get there versus just accepting where I'm at.
Yeah.
And being like, here's where I'm at.
And it's attachment to the outcome. It's attachment to that right there is where I want to be. Well, maybe you're supposed to be over there even further, which is even better. And that's tough for me because I'm impatient as hell, and I want it all now. And just I think I know best a lot of times. Like, I think I know what it should look like. Mm-hmm.
I've studied it all. I've done that. I've been there. I know how I should be right now. This isn't right. Something's not right. I feel discombobulated. I feel unsafe. I feel blah, 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 blah. That was my whole last year. It was wild to have been on a path where I felt so clear and then just knocked off my center, which was really, again, another valuable learning thing. It's like, can I be okay with myself being off center?
Oh, yeah. It's so good because you think like, no, now I've got it. It's all under control. I've figured it out. And then you're like, now I'm out of control. Well, wait, why? I should be in control. Should. I don't know. I'm just rambling.
Exactly.
When we met too, we had a brief conversation about codependency because Justin had just gone to treatment. And so you told me that I've been working on this. I'm a recovering codependent and going to meetings and things like that. And so that has been really, I would say, good to have in conjunction with this meditation and just what we're just talking about, which is trying to control the outcome, and like thinking if things will just go the way I tell them to go, everything will be fine. And so I've just had huge lessons in that. And even my own meditation, even my own life, even my own show, even and just like leaning back into not controlling everything.
Yeah. How
are you feeling about codependency these days? Because you had said that you checked into treatment too and did that, which wasn't very long ago. Is that correct?
Last July.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's at a place called PCS in Scottsdale, I believe, Psychological Counseling Services. It's a 68 hours of therapy in a week program.
Wow.
So it's quite intense.
You do not fuck around with your therapy. You're like,
that's what I mean. That's what I told you. Like, I've gone for it. I won't joke. Like, I go for it. And, it was really, I actually had to go. I had a situation with someone really close to me, and They were abusive, and I kept taking it. And instead of me saying no, I actually considered, like, should I be here? And I hadn't had that thought in 20 years. So I called my therapist and said, I'm in trouble. Like, I knew enough to know, like, I'm entering a not great place here. And she said something that woke me up. She said, do you find it surprising that you'd rather consider, taking your own life rather than telling this person no? I mean, you want to talk about a splash in the face wake up call.
Wow.
I was like, wow. And then I started seeing codependency everywhere with my employees, with my family. And I had no idea I'd been so codependent. So I checked myself in the center, and it was amazing. I definitely developed a way stronger no, way less attachment to even relationships, even with my children, which is one of the most, and this was with one of my children. So, but what was interesting was the conundrum of, here's this person that you gave birth to, that you, in your biological body, my biological body, I don't know if anyone else's, that I felt compelled to protect, yet I had to protect myself from this person. Like, it was just, I don't know if you can cuss on here, but it was it was a mind fuck. It was the biggest mind fuck I've ever been in. And I didn't know how to do that because I was so enmeshed, right? Once I went through the program and realized that, like, we're not one being here. This is, yes, a life I brought into the world that I love dearly. And I'm also an individual that can say no, no matter what that relationship is. I just started, we say words like gaining my power back, but it really is just about just going, yeah, no, I love you. And no, I did it with, we had some similarities, I think, in some boyfriends, and I did it with that person this year too. I was like, yeah, no. I mean, I love you beyond love, twin flame, all the stuff, but it was just a no. And I did that for myself. What I realized is I was giving those people more respect than I was giving myself.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that hits. And that's been a big journey for me. And I think anybody that's, we all have these tendencies, but it is really hard, especially with our children, I think. And understanding codependency in that way has been mine are still fairly young, but it's been a real journey to grasp that they have to live their own lives. And I can kind of step out of that control, but then, and allow. And I think I don't know, how do you, it's been interesting to see how to balance allowing things to happen, but also honoring myself, because I don't know, for me, that gets a little fuzzy sometimes. Does it ever for you?
It does, and where I go is basically my rule I've given to myself is, how do I feel? Regardless of the circumstance, with the boyfriend, for example, it's like, I don't feel safe in this relationship, no matter which way you turn it, flip it. You can dissect it 100%, but why would I keep myself in a place I don't feel safe? So I loved him more than I loved myself. And I finally started going like, wow, Suze, why would you do that? So I cut that relationship off. And as I, think about him less and less and less and less, I start going, yeah, no, it's just more of I'm not even interested. The same thing with, my child. I was just like, that's just a no, I love you and no. And it's interesting. This person, my child, has come back around in a completely different way. So that's what I teach in Alive OS, is that our internal world is reflected externally, right? So again, what's it meant to be? Here I have this person that I love, two people I love more than anything. This was my last year that I loved way more than I even loved myself, that I got to go no, so that I can then, what I realized is by default, I was actually choosing myself. It wasn't a conscious thing. It was just, the first was the no, a very gracious, loving no. I love you. And no, I'm going to protect myself right now. And just me doing that for myself, I started realizing like the depth of my love. And again, there comes the tears. It's like I love fiercely, and I know the level of love I'm capable of. And what's it say in the Bible? Like, don't cast your pearls before swine, So what I choose, even in people I birth, is I choose to be in a relationship where we both honor each other,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. It's just what it is. And if there's not an honoring, it's like, okay, no, no hard feelings. It doesn't change the love I have for you. It just changed the dynamics of the relationship.
That's really well said. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And I had to get over my ego. My family is the most important thing. I never thought this would happen in my family. Like, it was like, oh my God, I'm going to be that mother with an estranged child. I had to get over all that stuff. And it's like, this is still a no. And it's amazing to see what is flourishing now again. It's beautiful.
There's that paradox thing again.
Paradox. Who knew? And I had lost attachment to it. I accepted, okay, this could be the way it's going to be forever. And I grieve and I mourned, that particular loss, but the love never changed. Do you feel that too? It's like when I really tuned into it, I don't have to hate someone. I don't have to be angry. I can still love, and I can still love fiercely this person. It just means that I can also love myself.
I'm going to do it from over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I still love you so much, but I'll be over here.
I have to be over here.
I'll be right here.
If you come knocking or calling, then okay, let's talk now. Let's see if this is going to be different, you know?
I have another question, but I just want to reiterate to anyone listening to that, that question, do I feel safe here, is just such a good place to come back to. Just if you lose, if you can't figure out where to turn, I think that is such an important question. And that feeling of safety, for me, that's been a really good marker.
Well, completely. And especially if you grew up in, any sort of trauma, you were used to not feeling safe. So it wasn't even like it was out of, it was like your norm.
It feels normal.
No. It used to be my norm. It was like, oh, I'm used to feeling unsafe,
Mm-hmm.
So I would do risky things. That's where that high risk behavior could come in.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I started realizing is I was used to pushing myself on the edge because that's how I was programmed when I was young. That's what I was used to. Can I now find a new normal? And it can be a little boring. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you're used to that adrenaline and the drama and the being on the edge, it's like dating the rock stars. It's like, and then it's like, wow, okay. Could I just sit home and bake a cake? Can I find joy in that?
Or just sit.
Or just sit. Exactly. I don't have to bake a cake.
No, because then you get the joy of eating it, I guess. But yeah, you just sit. And I agree with all those things. I mean, I've read, I think it was Joe Dispenza that talks about the chemicals that get in our brain where we actually do develop an addiction to stress or excitement or whatever it is. And of course, it can feel normal when people have trauma in their young lives too. And those are just tough patterns to break.
Yes.
I'm curious when you get out of alignment, let's say, what specifically do you return to habit wise or within yourself to get back into your flow when you're feeling out of flow?
Well, I work really hard at not getting out of flow. I got out of flow last year, I believe, because of all the plant medicines and a lot of things that was going on in my life. But meditation, non-negotiable, exercise, non-negotiable. Like I have to do those almost every single day. If I don't, and some sort of creative output, like writing a few times a week, being in creative brainstorming, those things keep me in flow. Interviews like this, the reason I do so many podcast interviews, the reason I teach Alive OS, number one, is because I do want to share information, but also it turns me on and keeps me in flow. So I put these things in my life that keep me in flow, and they're like bumper guards, bumper rails, And if I don't meditate for a week, if I don't meditate and exercise for a week and have no creative output, I'm a mess. So what I realize is this is just like brushing my teeth. This is what I do. And this is what keeps me in flow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, those are so good because I
try to prevent myself from getting out of flow by just the proactive.
Well, it's about designing your life in a way that is going to keep you in your best self, right? Yes. And it's just encouraging to know that, like, I just feel like so many people, and I don't know, but I'm guessing that you've experienced this too, because so many people say, oh, because I took up rock and roll music at like age 40, and people were like, oh my God, I could never do that. I'm way too old or whatever, you know, and you're like,
you can start right now.
What do you tell people when they say, I can't, I'm too old?
Well, I didn't start Poo-Pourri until I was 43.
So good.
Yeah, people are like, you know, I can't do that. You know, I'm 35. I'm past my prime. It's like, okay, supposedly I'm not even at my prime. Supposedly it's at 72. I keep thinking I am. So yeah, that's another excuse, you know, and I've used it and it works. Sure. Again, is it working to keep you safe? And, you know, if it works, as long as it works until it doesn't. And then you decide, oh, hold on, maybe I want to do something about this.
Yeah, you're so right.
But let's not wait till that near-death experience or that, you know, tragic thing happens to make us wake up. You know, I've started saying a mantra that my mentor, Gay Hendricks, taught me. It's like, I'd rather learn through wisdom rather than experience. I choose to learn through wisdom rather than experience.
I like that.
Like, isn't it good? Yeah,
I choose to learn through wisdom, not experience.
Rather than experience.
Oh, God, that's good. I can
learn without getting the ball bat on my head anymore. Right. I choose to learn through wisdom. Yeah.
I know. Don't take my knees out. You know, I've been very careful about that because I've noticed a lot of times I'll say something and then learn it, you know, the hard way. So I try to get really conscious of how I phrase things, even in my own head. Because sometimes you'll think something and you're like, no, wait. Hold on. Let me rephrase that. So yeah. So thank you for sharing that. That's really useful. What was it again? I choose
to learn through wisdom
rather than experience. Okay, cool.
And then another one in Gay's book, The Big Leap, he talks about upper limits. I don't know have you read that?
No.
Really good one. So a lot of those knocks on the heads could be upper limits. What he says is we are programmed for fear and survival, right? It's like through evolution.
Animal brain, right?
Animal brain, right? That's the way we're built. What we're not programmed, what we are reprogramming ourselves for is abundance, love, and joy. So anytime something great happens, you may find yourself, you're in a car wreck or you trip and, you know, break your toe and you're like, what just happened? So much good was happening. It's because you reached your limit, right? On the goodness that you could feel. So you subconsciously knock yourself back down. Right? It's like, oh, you better watch out, fancy pants. You're going to get too big for your britches, right? You've heard all this stuff. So what happens energetically is you can create something so that you come back down. And the commitment that he taught me to say is I commit to expanding my capacity for abundance, love, and joy every day as I inspire others to do the same. So I'm constantly going, I want to increase my capacity for more abundance, love, and joy. And I want that every day as I inspire others to do the same, right? Because I want to give back at the same amount I receive. And that commitment to expansion is one of the biggest things that I think we can do so that we don't have those knocks on the head.
Totally. And maybe then you even get to a place where it goes hand in hand where you're like able to not even label that thing as breaking your toe or whatever it is as bad. You're able to just sort of say, oh, this is part of the capacity because something good is going to come out of this.
Completely. And it always does. Always. We live in duality. If that's what we can remember, we live in duality. There cannot be all good and there cannot be all bad. It has to be balanced. There is equal amount of good and bad. So that's the reason if you can just remember that, it's like, this is so bad. This is so bad. It's like, there has to be equal the amount of good. There just has to be. It's the way our nature works.
I like that because there's been so much doom and gloom sometimes, even with spiritual people that I'll follow on Instagram. And I'm just like, this isn't the space I want to stay in. This isn't resonating with me right now. And I know it's going on. I'm not trying to be in denial, but it's just not, it's like the news, right? It's not the space that I choose to dwell in. And how do you navigate that?
Well, it's really good. So a couple of things just pop in. I was in Byron Katie's camp like 18 years ago.
Oh my God. You sound like, what a dream. I love Byron Katie. Talk about somebody that peaked later too. Anyway, sorry. Total aside. I'm a big fan.
And one thing she used to say is, it's not my turn. So she would say, we're not going to deny that things happen in the world, but it's actually not my turn right now. And I'm just going to be grateful. I'm still going to acknowledge that person is suffering, but I'm also going to stay within myself and be grateful for the blessings that I have in this moment. So that helped. And then I remember when I went down to Peru in one of my, plant medicine journeys like 15 years ago, and there was some war that had broke out. And I remember my ex-husband was like, look on the TV, we're in this restaurant, there's war. And I remember looking around and I was like, I don't see a war. And he was like, no, there's a war. And I'm like, okay, but my reality is I'm not at war, right? So I went to the shaman and I said, something happened. And, my husband, and it was kind of the same thing. I can still acknowledge that a war is happening. And I can also be grateful that I don't see a war, right?
Yeah.
It's like I can acknowledge there is a war and there are people experiencing a war. And I'm so sorry. And I can feel have a lot of empathy for them. And I also can be super grateful that I'm not in this moment at war. It's like, okay, let's be grateful here.
It's the duality showing you too, like what we could be experiencing, what there is out there, and that there is the balance of the not bad, if we want to call it that, or the good and bad. And you're able to sit in that gratitude space, right?
And look at reality. So the same thing happened. I built my business, the beginning during 2008 and 2009 during a recession, right? And I remember, my ex-husband would be in the car and he would say, my husband at the time, and he'd go, look, that business is going out of business. You got to watch it. My financial angel, I call him, he was an investor, but he would call me and he spoke on Bloomberg and he'd be like, it's all going to shit. You got to sell. Everybody was like, it's horrible. And I would go, I see what you're talking about. And my reality is I'm abundant. Like I wasn't being Pollyanna. The reality is I was making money. My business was growing. So I almost kept these blinders on. Like, I am so sorry people are suffering. And I see what you're talking about. And I'm not going to adopt that fear state because the only reality I know for a fact is that I'm abundant. And that's the truth.
And then you're asking, did I know there was abundance or did I have abundance because I knew it?
Yeah, what is it? I don't know, right? Is it the chicken or the egg? But it's also, that's really good. I think when we can get lost in these fear loops is kind of look around and go, okay, what's reality?
Yeah.
Do we still need to be prepared, be educated, be safe? Yes. But it's, am I going to allow my mind, right, to journey down in that fear state? And why?
And why?
Is it helping?
Now, that's a great question. Is it helping? No.
There's no way it could be helping, right?
I don't think so. And that's why it's been kind of confusing to me, especially when it comes from spiritual leaders. And I'm just like, it's a lot of, okay, are you preparing for, the apocalypse or whatever it is? And I'm like, I feel everything's okay right now. Everything's okay right now. And I don't want to be like you said, Pollyanna, but I don't think so. And the older I get, the more I'm like, people are always saying that.
Oh my God. There's this artist. I went to a house concert in Austin from this artist, Stephen Wilson Jr. And he has a song. I don't remember the name of it, but he has a line that says, we've been talking about the end since the beginning.
That's so poignant.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Because people, haven't you heard people talking about World War III right now? And I'm like, I've heard that a few times,
Oh, that's what I am. I'm like, I remember hearing about, Helen Armageddon, we're all going to die. And then we used to have to be in bomb shelters, we're going to get bombed. And I remember at a certain point going, I've heard this story.
Yeah. I've heard it several times.
It could happen. What is my state of mind? If it happens, where am I going to be? Because I can choose whether I'm in fear or love. I really can. I can be like, okay, what's the reality? Reality is I'm not at war right now. The reality is everything's great. Okay. That's where I'm going to stay rooted in reality. When that changes, then I can react or respond to that change if and when that happens. But I'm not going to get on your fear train. It ain't going to happen.
Me either. I'm not living on the fear train. And the fear train is usually, unless something is presented to us in reality, but the fear train is usually imaginary. It is usually, it is not in the present reality.
That's my experience. Yes.
That is my experience as well.
Yeah. And that's all I can speak to is my own experience.
Yeah, me too.
and trust me, like I can create some fear stories in here. So I really watch that. I also watch what I ingest. Like I'm talking not just foods and, I can't watch content that feeds that part of my psyche.
And what would that be? Like even stuff on TikTok
the
and
news.
The news, me either. I quit during the Trump era. I quit. I was like, I tapped in and I was like, this isn't good for me. I don't feel good.
I quit 18 years ago.
Good for you.
And what I realize is that people tell me pretty much I learn. I may be a teeny bit behind, but generally if it's something pretty major, people are going to let me know about it.
Yeah.
So I don't have to be seeped. It's really interesting that we call that programming, right? TV
yeah.
programming.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I really look at, just like I don't choose to eat like McDonald's. I choose to eat organic foods. Why would I put not healthy content in my psyche? So I just choose, I've chosen to not do that. It's a measure for me where it can get crazy in here, so I don't watch horror movies. I don't watch usually anything violent. I just don't. It's like, yeah, I've lived a lot of violence. I get it. I just don't need to put any more, because this can be very violent in here. This can be a horror show in here, right? It's like, I can live all that and I'm just not going to feed it.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. And sometimes it's just as simple as noticing it when it's happening, because everybody was like, you got to watch Succession on HBO. And so we start watching that and both started feeling terrible about ourselves, because no one in that show has any redeeming qualities. They're all awful people, like just lying and all that. And it was making me feel like people in the world lie, like I can't trust, like everybody's just out for themselves. It was just putting these really detrimental things that are, that I don't want to live in that space again. And we were like, looked at each other and we're like, I'm feeling bad. Are you feeling bad? You're feeling bad too? It could be this show. Let's just cut it out. It's like paying attention to what you're eating.
And there's so much content that feeds me. It's not, I don't feel like I'm missing anything, it's like, oh yeah, there's a lot of content and it's just what I choose. You can look at me about what I eat, what I ingest, or not using chemicals. Why would my content be any different?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your chemicals and stuff. What do you eat? What's your diet like?
Right now, I'm mostly vegan.
Mostly. Cool.
Mostly.
Yeah.
I eat every once in a while, eat a little bit of eggs and very little cheese. I don't do well with dairy. But, my diet has changed. I've been mostly vegetarian most of my life.
Yeah. I go through phases. So,
me too.
Yeah.
Right now is where I'm at.
And then, so, you have Supernatural too, which is all about being non-toxic, eco-friendly and all that. Like, what a great thing to put out in the world.
Yeah. So is Poo-Pourri. So my goal, my baseline for developing products is I make products that are 100% natural that work better than chemicals. My thing is, if I can't make something better than something on the market, I won't put it out on the market. I just don't think we need more stuff in the world. Every entrepreneur that comes to me, I'm like, are you upgrading our lives? If you're not, just stop it. We just don't need more shit. And they just look at me like, what? And I go, come on, like upgrade us, So I will only put out something if it is a serious upgrade to our life and our experience and our existence. But yeah, so Supernatural is all natural, non-toxic cleaning products, all essential oil based, but so is Poo-Pourri. They're basically the same but different areas.
Yeah. How do you feel about
more focused on home and the other's focused on just odor?
Yeah. How do you feel about the packaging?
I love it. With Poo-Pourri, we have a karma fund. The reality is I put 120 million plastic bottles into the world. Does not feel good karmically. So our family has a karmic plan for that.
What is that? What is that?
A karma fund where we put in investing, like investing in innovation in plastic research, plastic disposal. What can we do with new forms, those sort of things.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah.
So that's just what we have to, I feel I have to do karmically to balance.
That's why I asked, because you're so in tune with that. It just seemed like.
Yeah. And right now we can't get out of that packaging. I tried for many years. And one of my friends who's a major sustainability voice in the world said, you need to stop wasting your energy with that and then just put the money that you make into solving it. You not putting out 100 million bottles isn't going to change the world, but you can invest the money in something that can change the world. So that became my strategy a couple of years ago, instead of exhausting so many resources. But when I developed Supernatural, I realized I spent $2 million researching sustainability and also the formulations before I ever put that product on the market. I had the luxury to do that. So all the packaging is completely sustainable. You can, they're all glass vials, glass bottles that you refill. So it has one of the lowest carbon footprints of any cleaning product. So I realized if I put a new product out, I can focus on that more than I did 15 or 16 years ago.
Yeah. And that's okay. You evolve and you grow and you figure it out. Really, yeah. I had a feeling that you just have thought about those things, and that's why I asked. So
I'm serious, and I talk about them. I'm like, yeah. That happened. I do that. Yeah. And here's what I can do to make up for that. And I believe if we all just did that, the world can be a better place,
I do too. 100%. That's beautiful. Well, okay, let's talk about your new course. Well, it's not new, I guess. It's been going on, a year? Alive OS? I love the name, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So ALIVE is an acronym for Abundance Lives in Vibrational Energy.
Ooh, now I like it even more.
Isn't that fun?
Yes.
And OS stands for Operating System. It's that we are. So the basis of it is that we're programmed, but again, not victim. We programmed ourselves out of fear and survival. We develop certain programming in order to keep us alive. We're safe. We're here. Once you realize that, you can start reprogramming yourself into other places, right, that you wish to go. So that's what we focus on. We have people, I give away about 50% in scholarships to people that are homeless. I've had everybody that's homeless, I'll knock on wood, ends up being in a home, getting a job before they graduate in 8 weeks. I've had people in jail. It's amazing what can happen. And even people that are just already successful, they get divorced, they quit their job, they move across. I mean, I remember when first time I did it, I'm like, hold on, everybody. Everybody's like, and then I started realizing, oh, this is like they've had a pressure cooker and needed an excuse to make these changes. So people do radically usually change their life because once you start changing inside, the external doesn't work anymore. It can be terrifying and liberating at the same time.
I've been there. Well, you've been divorced twice. Is that correct? Or was
3 times?
3 times. That's right. Okay.
I was married once when I was 19 and I grew up in Arkansas. It's like a mulligan in golf.
Yeah, that doesn't count. Not really. It's like a mulligan. How do you view when people say failed marriage?
Like the only thing I failed at was dating, right? I didn't. I was actually successful at marriage. I did it a lot.
That's good.
So talk about failed dating. I would just freaking marry them. I'm like, okay, great, I'll marry you. Instead of like dating. There's a concept.
How do you think you would ever do it again, or did you just sort of flow with it?
I almost did it in 2020. I mean, I was about to jump in again. I don't know. I love being a couple.
Yeah.
I think I love being alone too. I love where I'm at in my being. I don't feel like anything's missing from my life. The only desire that I have is to share the goodness with someone, and the pain and it's the sharing. So I would, I would definitely be in a committed couple again.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like.
Whatever that looks like. And just for me, it was a huge lesson loving myself and getting to a place where I was like, okay, if this is it, that's cool. I can live with this because I love me enough. And just tapping back into that. And then of course the paradox emerged, and then I met someone.
That happens.
Yeah. And then he relapsed, and I thought, oh, this is it. Okay, bye. And then my wish for a sober partner now has arrived, which that's really what I wished for. So,
I know that's my wish as well. We were kind of in a similar place.
We were,
year, so
yeah.
Congratulations!
Thank you. Well, it comes about. I mean, is this it? I think so, but I can't say for sure. All I know is today it feels right, and things come about in a way we don't expect, and that was a huge lesson for it. And I needed to get back in touch with myself and re-find my shine, and for him to be the man that I would need, this had to happen, which is, again, looking back as a gift on something that can be framed many different ways.
Yeah. It has to be equal.
Yeah.
Blessing and not,
Yeah.
It's like, I just think we fail to look at the blessing to get real about it. Like, hold on, this might've been the best thing that happened.
Yeah. And I had to do that even just today in my meditation. And I'm going to meet him somewhere tomorrow, and I had like the old patterning come up. I had fear and doubt and worry and all these things sort of attack my mind. And I got carried away with being out of the moment and yet letting past experiences dictate how I felt. And so I meditated and really had to work to get back in touch with my own intuition. And I'm curious how you feel about this. One of the things that I've learned is that, because people go, how will you trust him again? And I'm like, I'm not trusting him. It's not even about that. And I think I had forgotten that for a little while, like even just this morning. And I was like, right, you're not in a space of trusting him. You're in a space of trusting yourself and your intuition and your higher power. And really, when I say myself and my intuition, I mean a higher power. I mean like letting go and surrendering. And I've just found that's something I just have to remind myself of. And I guess I feel like you would probably agree with that.
Completely. And what I want to appreciate about what you just said, a couple things, is that you said, I don't remember verbatim, but you said something about like, I watched my mind get into the old patterns. That's a level of awareness and presence, right? Realizing that I could see my mind going on this, getting on that train, right?
Yeah.
The fear train. And I said, hold on, where are you going? Right.
Yeah.
So that is incredible. Like that's what I was missing so many years of my life. My mind would just go, and I, had no idea that it was even running. Right. So I appreciate you for your level of awareness.
Thanks.
And for also trusting yourself. That's the truth. It's like, can I trust myself?
Yeah. And that's,
I'll know my no and I'll know my yes. And right now I have a yes, and we'll see how that goes.
That's right. That's right.
We'll see how long it lasts.
We'll see how long it lasts, and I'll learn. And whatever the case, I'm going to learn, and it's going to be great. So
always.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amen, sister.
Amen. Well, I feel like we're wrapping up, and I just want to turn the whole floor over to you. And if there's anything that you absolutely wanted to say today, or anything that's just in your heart and that you feel called to share today or reiterate, whatever it is, I just want to turn it over to you before we close.
Yeah, I think that we have, gosh, the past couple of years, we really faced either in reality or in our minds mortality. It's like, oh my God, the whole world could die. We could all die. That's true. And it's now that seem to be beyond that at some point. We have other fears that are out there, but it's like, okay, if that were true, if we could just be all obliterated at any moment, which is actual reality, what could I do? What do I need to do? And the rest of again, I get weepy with this. I'm asking myself, what do I need to do so that I feel complete? Right? What do I need to do so I feel complete? And it's just time to go for it, man. Like, what do we have to lose anymore? It's like, I tell that to myself. I tell it to everyone around me. Like, come on, what do we have to lose? Like, let's just do this thing.
It's like that near-death experience when people suddenly go, oh my God, I'm going to live my fullest life, That's
it. We're alive. How the hell did that happen? We all thought we were going to die. We thought every package was going to kill us, 2 years ago when it came to the front door, with our shoes. It was like, okay, like we're here, man. Now, what do you want to do? And let's go. It's time. It's almost like a rubber band. It's like the contraction, expansion. Like we were so contracted that we're starting to loosen up. So how can you take the momentum of that contraction and start expressing and being in a bigger place, right?
Ooh, I hope so. That appeals to me. I am too. I'm determined. I'm putting on my blinders, like you said, and I'm just, this is it.
This is reality. It's not even like naive blinders. It's not rose-colored glasses. It's literally like, I'm just not going to look at that other stuff because my reality right here is this is what's happening.
This is what's happening. I know.
This is what's happening.
And that's
all I know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Before we go to, there was one thing I forgot to mention that I really liked on your website. And that was when you just said, for years, I was searching for a magic bullet. And I've made a hat that says there is no magic pill because, it sure would be nice if it was the plant medicine journey, or if it was this that cured it, or this that got me there. And, you're a living example that it's all about the process.
It's all about the process. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Can I be okay with this right here? Right
Even
now.
If my mind is fucking off the charts, spinning around.
Even if it's like going like a crazy ping pong ball in there, it's like, where am I? Can I be right here with it? Yeah. Which is really fun. And I've taken a lot of the pills, trust me, from all angles, from all sides of pills.
That's right. If there was one that worked, we would have found it. Right?
I'm pretty sure I would have found it. Yeah,
I know. And I like to say that, just keep going,
Keep going, man. Yeah. And also, I think what happens is in the human experience, and I can tell this is probably why you do this, is once you have reached a level of learning, it's only natural you want to share that with other people, right? Mm-hmm. It's almost like having a garden that's super abundant and you want to give away the peppers. It's like, oh my God, I got peppers running on my ears. Here, take some peppers. And that's the way I feel with so much abundance of learning and wisdom and just life experience. It's like, here, take some of it, look at what's happened, and it's amazing and wonderful. And if you can use it, great. And if you don't, great. It's like, but there's a lot over here.
I think that's so profound because I think so many times, especially with someone like you, that's an inventor that is, full of ideas, like how do you not hoard your ideas? Like, how do you feel about giving them away and talking about it? And I of course am the school of thought, like, let it all out and more is going to come. Your creativity, just keep going and it'll flow. And I sense that you probably are that way too.
100%. I give away ideas all the time. Most people don't do them, but I do give them out. I'm like, here, you should do this. It'd be great. Take it.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I was curious about that because I just think that's so much more fun.
Delicious. I love sharing. That's one of my favorite things. I love sharing. It's like, that's probably my essence. I just want to share. I want to share everything.
Well, I can tell. And you shared so beautifully today. I feel like there are like so many bits of wisdom that we can learn from without the experience in today's conversation. And I just want to say a humongous thank you for being here today, for taking your time to sit down with me, because I just loved you from the moment we met. And I'm just so excited that we got to make this happen. So thank you very much. Yes. Everyone can find you, of course, at your name, Suzy, Suzy, Batiz, Batiz, basically anywhere. Yeah, I'll have all the links in the show notes. And your course is on your website, go look at her website. Everyone should go look at your website because it's really great.
Oh,
I love it. I love it.
It's wonderful. And thank you. What an honor to be on your show. And I loved our connection from the very beginning. I loved the conversation today. Thank you for being such an engaging conversationalist and pulling all that out.
It was easy with you. You're so open. And that's just where the best stuff is, when we get vulnerable and really just share from our hearts. And so I love you. Thank you so much, Susie. Thank you for being here. How amazing was that? I'm going to put those 2 mantras into my regular repertoire of my mind in my daily life. You know what? One of the apps that I use is ThinkUp. You do have to pay for a little subscription, because mine just renewed the other day and I was like, oh, I forgot that I had to pay for that annually. Anyway, though, it is very useful because you can say things like those mantras, like, I choose to learn from wisdom rather than experience. You could say that into ThinkUp, and it'll be you can even file them in certain categories like motivation or, diet and exercise or gratitude. Those are ones that I actually use. And then you can just loop those even when you're driving, even when you're out for a walk or something like that. I have so many now. And so I'm just going to put those in there probably too. And then they start to just sink in subconsciously. So I would say use those, and then we'll review for the other one too, which was I expand my capacity for abundance, right? That is a paraphrase of the longer version that she said in the interview. But I would encourage you to either write it down or have that somewhere as well. Very useful tips. There was so much useful in there. Big thanks to Susie. Thanks to you for being here for yourself. Maybe thank yourself for being right here, for listening to that, for giving yourself that gift. Because it truly is. Anytime we're spending time in that space, it's a gift to ourselves and it's a gift to the world, because that's the energy that we're emitting, that we're putting out, and that we're commanding, rather than absorbing all the other energy that there is out there, all that negative and stuff. We could absorb that, sure. But what are you putting out? And every time we spend time in a space like this, it starts to emit. We're putting out that frequency. Abundance lives in vibrational energy. Energy? Is that the right word last? Anyway, close enough. And you can check out everything Susie on her website, susiebatiz.com, BATIZ.com. And of course, same name everywhere: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, all the socials. That's how you find Susie. And again, thank you to her for showing up the way she did and her openness. And that inspires me completely. I'm sitting here thinking about a business idea. In fact, I just told Alyssa, I was like, I have a business idea and I've had it for years. And I'm like, okay, do I just make a deck and go for it and see what flows? Maybe. Why not? All these other people have 10 things going on. I don't know. I need to stay focused on my show, don't I? This is it. This is it for me, because I love you, because I love me, because I love our voices, because I believe that they can keep rising higher and we can keep becoming our best selves efficiently. Let's learn from wisdom, not experience, for sure. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And I'm just so grateful that you're here. There is no magic pill. Damn it. I love you so much. Till next time. Comment and tell me your thoughts. And please subscribe to the channel for all things to up-level your life and increase your shine efficiently and through better habits, mindset shifts, and embracing your own power.